My parents had a celebration dinner when I left for college and toasted to never seeing her again. So I graduated, got rich, and they've been trying to find me for 15 years. I'd love for you to be part of this family. Subscribe and tell me where you're watching from. I promise, your comment doesn't go unseen. I wasn't supposed to hear it. That's what kills me most. They didn't even have the decency to wait until I was actually gone. I was 17, standing in the hallway of our Detroit home with my last box of belongings, when I heard the champagne cork pop in the kitchen. My parents, Regina and Christopher, were laughing. Not just chuckling, full-on cackling like they'd won the lottery. To never seeing her again, my mother's voice rang out crystal clear. My father's deep laugh followed. Best money we ever spent on those college applications. My hands went numb. The box crashed to the floor. They went silent. I walked into that kitchen, and the guilt on their faces lasted maybe 2 seconds before my mother rolled her eyes. Eavesdropping now, Shanice? That's when my little brother Michael, just 14, looked at me with something I'd never seen before: pity. My golden child brother actually felt sorry for me. Y'all really hate me that much? I asked, my voice cracking despite my best efforts. My father didn't even put down his glass. Hate is a strong word. We're just relieved. You've been difficult since you were born, girl. Always asking questions, always challenging everything. Your brother? He gets it. You exhausting. 22 years of existing, and this was my send-off. Not a hug. Not a "we'll miss you." Just champagne and celebration that I was finally leaving. I should have cried. Instead, something cold and sharp crystallized in my chest. I picked up my box, walked out that door, and made myself a promise. They'd never find me again. Michigan State was my escape, but freedom came with a price. No financial support despite their comfortable income. My father worked as a senior accountant, my mother as a nurse practitioner. They made over $180,000 combined but claimed me as a dependent while giving me nothing. I worked 3 jobs. Library assistant at $12 an hour, weekend waitress pulling doubles, and overnight stock at Target. My roommate, Kennedy, found me crying over a bowl of ramen one night. My parents used to do this thing, I told her, wiping my face. Every Sunday they'd take Michael out for brunch at this fancy spot in Bloomfield Hills. Never invited me. Said I was too negative, would ruin the vibe. Kennedy's jaw dropped. Since when? Since I was 12. That's when it started anyway, the obvious favoritism. Michael could do no wrong. Straight B's? He's well-rounded. Meanwhile, my straight A's were expected and not special. He got a car at 16. I got a bus pass. But I kept every rejection, every slight in a mental file. Then the letters started. First one came 3 weeks into my freshman year. My mother's handwriting on cheap stationery. Shanice, your Aunt Beverly is asking about you. What should I tell her? You need to call home. No apology. No acknowledgement. Just demands. I burned it in Kennedy's hibachi grill we weren't supposed to have in the dorm. The second letter came from Michael. Sis, Mom and Dad are acting weird. They keep asking if I've heard from you. Dad seems, I don't know, guilty. Can you just call? I almost responded to that one. Almost. Then I remembered his face at that table eating cake while they celebrated my departure. My economics professor, Dr. Patricia Winters, changed my trajectory sophomore year. She was this fierce black woman who'd built 3 businesses before returning to academia. After I aced her midterm with a perfect score, she called me into her office. I've been teaching 20 years, she said, removing her reading glasses. I see 2 types of students. Those who study to pass and those who study like their life depends on it. You're the latter. Why? I told her everything. The champagne. The toast. The years of being invisible. Here's what you're going to do. She leaned forward, her eyes intense. You're going to take every programming class this university offers. You're going to network like your survival depends on it, because it does. And you're going to build something they can't ignore or control. She mentored me personally, introduced me to her tech connections in Detroit and Silicon Valley. By junior year, I'd interned at 3 startups. I learned Python, JavaScript, SQL. I attended every tech conference within driving distance, sleeping in my car to afford registration fees. Kennedy would pack me sandwiches. You're either going to be wildly successful or completely burn out, she'd say, half joking. No in between with you. The summer before senior year, I built my first app, a budgeting tool specifically designed for first-generation college students managing financial aid. It was personal, born from every overdraft fee, every meal skipped. I called it Bridge Gap. Within 3 months, 50,000 downloads. By graduation, 500,000. My parents sent a card. Congratulations on graduating. Love, Mom and Dad. No phone call. No visit. They didn't even know what I'd built. The pitch meeting that changed my life happened in a WeWork in downtown Detroit. I was 22, wearing a Goodwill blazer and shoes I'd resold twice. Across the table sat 3 investors, including Christopher Davis from Elevation Capital. I'd practiced my pitch so many times Kennedy threatened to steal my laptop. Bridge Gap isn't just an app, I began, my voice steadier than I felt. It's a lifeline. 62% of college students don't know how to manage their financial aid refunds. 40% overdraft within the first semester. My app reduces that by 78% through predictive budgeting and personalized alerts. Christopher leaned forward. What makes you different from Mint, or you need a budget? Those apps assume you have money to budget. Mine assumes you're starting from zero, possibly negative. It integrates with campus meal plans, textbook rental systems, and work-study payments. It understands broke college students because I was one. His eyebrow raised. Still am, technically. I've got $247 in my checking account and $83,000 in student loans. The room went silent. Then Christopher laughed. Genuine, surprised laughter. How much are you asking for? $500,000 for 15% equity. 3 weeks later, I had $750,000 for 12%. Christopher became my mentor, my champion, my chosen family. At the contract signing, he pulled me aside. I grew up poor in Guangzhou. My parents worked in factories. I see hunger in you, the kind that builds empires or destroys people. Make sure it builds. I thought about my parents' toast. Let them drink champagne. I was building something they'd never touch. When Bridge Gap hit 5 million users in year 2, I made my move. My attorney, a sharp woman named Valerie Rodriguez, handled everything. You're sure about this? She asked, reviewing the paperwork in her Baltimore office. I'd relocated to be near investors. Once it's done, it's done. I've never been more sure of anything. Shanice Marie Patterson became Sean M. Rivers. Fresh social security card, driver's license, passport. Legally, completely, irrevocably different. My parents knew Shanice. They didn't know Sean. I deleted every social media account tied to my old name. Built new ones with privacy settings locked tight. Changed my phone number for the 4th time in 3 years. Kennedy was the only person from my old life who had my real contact information. This feels extreme, she said over FaceTime, now working as a nurse in Chicago. Is it though? They toasted to never seeing me again. I'm just granting their wish permanently. What about Michael? That made me pause. My brother had tried reaching out a few times over the years. Awkward emails, a weird Facebook message asking if I was okay. But he'd sat at that table. He'd watched them treat me like garbage for years and said nothing. He made his choice, I said finally. The name change felt like shedding skin. Shanice was the girl who wasn't good enough. Sean was the woman building a tech empire. At 24, I closed a Series B funding round for $15 million. Forbes mentioned me in their 30 under 30 list. Not Shanice Patterson from Detroit. Sean Rivers, founder and CEO of BridgeGap Technologies. My parents wouldn't recognize me even if they looked directly at me. Year 7 of my disappearance, Kennedy called at 2 a.m. Sean, don't freak out, but I got a weird visit today. I sat up in my Baltimore penthouse, overlooking the inner harbor. What kind of weird? A private investigator came to my hospital. Asked about Shanice Patterson. Said her family hired him because they're desperately worried about her well-being. My blood turned to ice. What did you tell him? That I knew a Shanice in college but we lost touch years ago. Haven't heard from her since graduation. He kept pushing, asking if I knew about name changes, new locations. Girl, he did his homework. I was already at my laptop, pulling up security footage from my building. Did he follow you? I don't think so, but Sean, he said something that got me. He said your dad has been looking for you for 3 years. That they've spent over $60,000 on investigators. I laughed, bitter, sharp. They spent $60,000 looking for the daughter they toasted to never seeing again? That's rich. He also said. Kennedy hesitated. He said your mom claims she never said that. That you misunderstood. The rage that flooded through me was chemical, physical. I was standing 10 feet away. There was no misunderstanding. But fear crept in too. $60,000 meant they were serious. Persistent. My carefully constructed new life felt suddenly fragile. I called Valerie immediately despite the hour. Can they legally compel you to reveal my new name? Not without cause. You're an adult who legally changed their name. You've committed no crimes. You don't owe them your location. Still, I hired my own security firm the next day. Installed additional cameras. Started varying my routines. They wanted to find me? They'd have to work harder than $60,000 worth. The email came from an address I didn't recognize. The truth about jp@protonmail.com. Subject line, Sister, please read this. I should have deleted it. Instead, I opened it at my office surrounded by my team of 40 employees, all brilliant minds who knew me as Sean, confident, untouchable CEO. Shanice, I don't know what name you use now. It's Michael. Before you delete this, please understand, I found Kennedy through her nursing license records. I'm not working with Mom and Dad. Actually, I need to tell you something they don't want you to know. Remember how perfect everything seemed with them and me? How I was the golden child. It was all a lie. When I turned 18 right after you vanished, they started in on me. Nothing I did was good enough anymore. My B's became disappointing. They compared me to you constantly. At least Shanice had ambition, and your sister was smart enough to leave. I went to therapy last year. Dr. Madison helped me realize they're textbook narcissists. You were the scapegoat. I was the golden child. Both roles are abuse, just different flavors. I'm sorry I didn't defend you. I was a stupid kid who didn't understand what I was seeing. But Sean, yes, I know your new name. I'm not trying to expose you. You need to know why they're looking. Dad got diagnosed with kidney disease. Stage 4. He needs a transplant. Mom's not a match. I'm not a match. They need you. That's it. That's the whole reason. Not guilt. Not love. They need your kidney. My assistant knocked, concerned by whatever expression I was wearing. Ms. Rivers? Your 3 p.m. is here. I closed the laptop. Smiled. Give me 5 minutes. Then I locked my office door and threw up in my private bathroom. I hired a medical attorney within hours. Dr. James Coleman, specialist in bioethics and family medical law, met me at his DC practice 2 days later. "Walk me through the entire situation," he said, his Nigerian accent still strong despite 20 years in America. I told him everything. The toast. The disappearance. The name change. Michael's email. The kidney disease. "And now," I finished, "I need to know my legal obligations." Dr. Coleman folded his hands. "Legally, you have zero obligation to donate an organ to anyone, family or otherwise. Ethically, that's more complex, but here's what concerns me. They're not seeking you out of love. They're seeking you as a biological resource. Can they sue me for refusing? No. Organ donation must be voluntary. However, they could potentially sue for access to your medical records if they claim you have information relevant to genetic kidney disease that might affect other family members." My head spun. "So they could find me through a lawsuit?" "Possibly. But I can file preventive paperwork. We'd argue that you've exercised your legal right to estrangement, changed your name through proper channels, and any attempt to compel contact constitutes harassment." I thought about my father, Christopher Patterson, who couldn't put down his champagne glass to say goodbye to his daughter. Now he wanted my kidney? Do it. File everything. "One more thing," Dr. Coleman said gently. "You should get tested anyway. Know your own status. Kidney disease can be hereditary." That stopped me. What if I was sick too? What if years from now I needed a transplant and the only matches were people who'd celebrated my absence? The irony was so bitter I could taste it. I got tested the following week. Clean bill of health. Strong kidneys. Both of them. I could save his life and still have a perfectly normal one. The question was, should I? 6 months of therapy with Dr. Lisa Montgomery prepared me for this moment. "You don't owe them reconciliation," she'd said repeatedly. "But you might owe yourself closure." I rented a private room at the Westin in downtown Detroit. Hired security. Had Valerie present as my attorney. Then I sent one email to Michael. "Tell them I'll meet them." Once. November 3rd, 2 p.m. Westin Book Cadillac Penthouse Suite C. "Come alone or don't come at all." They arrived at 1:58 p.m. My security team searched them. No recording devices. My mother looked older, thinner. My father was in a wheelchair, jaundiced and weak. Michael stood behind them, protective. They froze when they saw me. "Shanice," my mother whispered. "Sean," I corrected. "Legally changed 7 years ago." My father's eyes filled with tears. "Baby girl, you look so different. So successful." "Cut the shit," I said, my voice ice. "You have 30 minutes. My mother tried to approach. Security blocked her. "We've been looking everywhere for you. We were worried sick. Stop lying." I pulled out my phone, played an audio file. My own voice from 15 years ago, shaky and young. "Y'all really hate me that much?" Then my father's voice, clear as day. "Hate is a strong word. We're just relieved. You've been difficult since you were born." My mother's voice, to never seeing her again. The color drained from their faces. "I recorded it on my phone," I said. "Kept it all these years. So don't you dare tell me I misunderstood." "Shini-san, please," my father wheezed. "I'm dying. I need my kidney." "I know." Michael told me. Their heads whipped toward my brother. "You told her," my mother shrieked. "You had no right." "I had every right." Michael shouted back, surprising us all. "She deserves to know why you're really looking." My father tried to speak, but I raised my hand. "My turn. For 17 years I lived in your house as a ghost. You celebrated my departure like a burden lifted. You spent $60,000 trying to find me. Not because you missed me, but because you need something from me. So here's how this works." I pulled out a document Valerie had prepared. This is a contract. And that's a massive if. I agree to donate, you will sign this. Item 1. You acknowledge the emotional abuse and neglect I experienced from ages 12 to 17. Item 2. You agree to pay me $250,000 not for the kidney, but as restitution for the college support you legally owed but withheld while claiming me as a dependent. My mother gasped. You want us to pay you? For saving your father's life? No. I want you to pay me for 18 years of existence you treated as worthless. The kidney comes after. Item 3, I continued. After the surgery, if it happens, you never contact me again. No calls, no emails, no private investigators. You tell family I want privacy. Michael is the only one who gets my real contact information. My father was sobbing now. How did we raise someone so cold? That's when I lost it. You didn't raise me. You tolerated me. You know what I remember most from childhood? Sitting at dinner while you asked Michael about his day, his friends, his interests. When I tried to share. Nobody asked you, Shanice. I was 12 years old and my own mother told me nobody asked me. Silence filled the room. I have 74 employees who respect me, I said. I've built a company worth $200 million. I've done everything you said I'd never do. And you know what? I don't need your validation anymore. But you need my kidney. So sign or leave. They signed. My mother's hand shook so badly she could barely write her name. My father just stared at the paper like it was a death warrant. Maybe it was a death of the fantasy that they could reconcile without acknowledging what they'd done. Valerie notarized everything. $250,000 will be transferred to Ms. Rivers' account before surgery, she stated clinically. Any breach of the no-contact clause results in legal penalties of $50,000 per incident. After they left, I sat in that hotel room for 3 hours. Kennedy flew in from Chicago and found me on the floor, still in my business suit, crying like I hadn't cried in 15 years. You don't have to do this, she said, holding me. You don't owe them anything. I know. But if I don't, I'm letting them make me into someone I'm not. Someone who lets people die out of spite. That's not spite, Sean. That's boundaries. Maybe. But I need to do this for me. To prove I'm not like them. That I can be the bigger person and still protect myself. Dr. Coleman ran every test. Perfect match. Type A positive. The surgery was scheduled for January 15th at Henry Ford Hospital. My medical team was elite. I'd paid for the best. Michael visited me the night before. I don't expect forgiveness, he said. But I'm proud of you. Both for this and for building your life. You could have spoken up, I said. When we were kids. I was a coward. I'm trying not to be anymore. He handed me a letter. Don't open this until after surgery. It's everything I should have said 15 years ago. The surgery took 6 hours. My kidney went into my father's failing body. When I woke up groggy and in pain, there was a moment, just a brief, stupid moment, where I hoped they'd be there. Grateful. Change. They weren't. Michael was. They left an hour ago, he said. Said they'd call when he's recovered. Of course they did. Recovery was brutal. Not the physical part. That went smoothly. The emotional fallout nearly destroyed me. 3 weeks post-surgery, depression hit like a sledgehammer. I'd given a part of my body to someone who'd never wanted me. Dr. Montgomery increased our sessions to 3 times weekly. You're grieving, she explained. Not for what you lost, but for what you never had. The parents you deserved. Michael called weekly, updating me on Dad's progress. He's doing great. Kidneys functioning perfectly. He asks about you sometimes. Does he say thank you? Silence. No. 4 months later, I received a Facebook friend request. From my mother. The audacity sent me into a rage so profound I threw my laptop across my office. She'd signed a contract. A legally binding document promising no contact. And here she was casually violating it. Valerie filed suit immediately. $50,000 penalty plus legal fees. Do you want to pursue criminal harassment charges? No. Just make it stop. The money hit my account within a week. No apology. Just a terse message from their attorney. Mistake acknowledged. Will not repeat. But the friend request broke something open. I started investigating through public records. Found out my father had returned to work part-time. They'd bought a new car, a Tesla $80,000. Posted vacation photos from Hawaii on Facebook. They'd paid me $250,000, but clearly they weren't suffering. Meanwhile, I was one kidney down and emotionally shattered. That's when I made a decision. I was done letting them live rent-free in my head. Done waiting for closure that would never come. I took Michael out for dinner at my favorite Baltimore restaurant. I need you to understand something, I told him over wine I could finally afford without checking my bank account. I'm glad you're in my life. But our parents, they're dead to me. Not figuratively. As far as I'm concerned, they don't exist. 15 years after that champagne toast, I stand in my corner office at Bridge Gap's new headquarters in San Francisco. We've expanded to 12 countries. Over 30 million users. Last month, we acquired our biggest competitor for $500 million. I'm 37, CEO of a tech empire, living a life my parents said I'd never achieve. Kennedy is my COO now, running operations while I focus on innovation. Michael is our Chief Diversity Officer. He found his calling in making sure other scapegoat kids find opportunities we didn't have. My parents reached out twice more over the years, both times through attorneys, asking for medical information about my health, for family genetic records. Valerie handled it. They paid the penalty each time. I heard through Michael that my father had 10 more years with my kidney before he'd need another transplant. My mother retired early. They sold their Detroit house and moved to Atlanta, where nobody knows their daughter is a tech mogul who wants nothing to do with them. Sometimes people ask why I don't have a relationship with my family. I tell them I do. With Kennedy, Michael, my chosen family of employees and friends who've earned their place in my life. Biology doesn't guarantee love. Last week, I established a scholarship fund. $10 million for first-generation college students from abusive homes. It's called the Second Chance Foundation. Every recipient gets counseling, mentorship, and financial support. Everything I had to fight for alone, they'll have handed to them with love. On the application, there's a question. Describe a moment when you realized you deserved better. Every applicant's story breaks my heart and makes me grateful. They'll never toast to my absence again. I made sure of that. Not by seeking revenge, but by building something so magnificent they can't ignore it. Even from a distance they're legally required to keep. That's the real success. Not the money. Not the company. But the fact that I turned their rejection into rocket fuel and launched myself into a stratosphere they can't reach. To never seeing them again? I'll drink to that.